Hi, my name is Wade, and this is my story. So I started college at University of Texas at Arlington in 1981. Only person in my family that had ever been to college. My parents couldn't help me with any of the forms I had to fill out, with what degree to pick. They didn't know anything about college life at all, and so I really was going it alone. I was excited about being in college, but I didn't have anyone that I could turn to and say, how does this work, or how do I get this to happen? So it was extra difficult for me to navigate all that the first couple of semesters until I could connect to some other people or get to know people on campus who could help me. And then it was hard to go back home and talk about being in college because there was no reference point for anyone. So when I would tell them about something exciting in class or something that happened on campus, usually the response was, oh, that's nice. But it was difficult. I felt isolated. I felt alone, even though there were 25,000 people on that campus. I didn't really feel connected to them at first. So for me, college, I divide my college experience into two parts. The first part, the first 3 semesters I was in college, I wasn't engaged, I wasn't involved, I was doing poorly in my coursework, I was unhappy, I didn't have friends, I didn't have any connection, and I just was stubborn enough that I didn't leave. I had lots of friends who were first-generation students who left after a semester or after a year. I was just stubborn enough, or whatever, stupid enough that I didn't leave. Then the second half is when I changed my major to history, which was my real passion. And when I joined a student organization, in my case it was a social fraternity, Sigma Nu, that I joined. And now I had a group of people, some of them first generation students, who I could hang out with, who understood, who could help me when I was having problems. And college wasn't just a place that I went, it was a place that was important to me. It was a place where I felt connected. So that's my turning point. It's when I made that decision to change my major to one that was better suited to me, and when I started getting involved in campus life beyond merely coming to class. So for me, the biggest success was I was not an outgoing person then. So to join a student organization, particularly a fraternity where you had to be really outgoing, where you had to recruit other members, where you had to do silly things, sometimes, that was a big stretch for me, but it's what kept me connected at that university and allowed me to go on and complete my degree. So that's probably what I'm proudest of. Well, there were lots of challenges that I had to face as a first-generation student. Probably for me, the hardest one was I had been a good student in high school, and I had always been, got good grades and understood the material. When I got into college, things were so fast and everything was happening kind of in a blur, and I started not doing as well in my classes, and that was really difficult for me to deal with, to comprehend how someone who I thought was bright and smart was not doing well at all in classes. And I slowly came to realize through thinking about it that I was in the wrong field. I had picked chemical engineering as my major when I first started just because they made lots of money. I didn't have anyone to advise me about what that was going to look like. Turns out you take a lot of math and a lot of science if you're going to do chemical engineering. And I just didn't have the skill set to be successful in there. So realizing my limitations and realizing that I had to make tough choices was really difficult for me. And again, without having someone that I could go and say, okay, you've been through this, tell me about changing your major, or tell me about finding the right major. I kind of felt, a little bit on my own, a little bit isolated from it. I know that it is rough for first-generation students because you do have that sense of isolation. You do have that sense, do I really belong here? Is this the right place for me? And so my advice is based upon my personal experience, is that you need to get connected to other people on campus who you can go to for advice. When you're having a rough week or a rough day or a class is not going the way you want it, you have someone that you can turn to give you advice, to give you that pat on the back, to tell you to keep going, to plug through it, that it's going to be okay. So that's what I would say to first-generation students is, find a way to get connected to the university so that it's a meaningful place to you, whether it's through a student organization, whether it's through participating in university activities or events, or whether it's just finding a group of students that share your interest and that are in your field. Get connected, and it will make it a lot easier for you to navigate and be successful in college. Go Buffs!